Thanks for being with us this morning.
Sure.
Eric Wellman, First Selectman.
Hi, Eric.
Hi. I don't know who else you know, so I'm going to make full introductions.
Okay, go ahead.
Jackie Bados is my colleague on the Board of Selectmen and liaison to the Economic Development Commission. Bob Crowther is chair of the EDC.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
And
Lori.
Melissa Appleby is deputy town manager.
Morning.
Good morning.
And I also just wanted to let you know that we're streaming this conversation on YouTube because it is a public meeting.
Sure.
And I just wanted to let you know that
Got
we're
it.
doing that. Okay,
Yeah, that's
great.
fine. Yes, of course.
Before we jump in, I thought it would be helpful to give you a little bit of context on the EDC.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Bob just to give an overview of what the EDC is working on, and then we can get into getting to know your interests a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Eric. So, Lori, when I interviewed for the EDC position, my first comment to everybody I was interviewing with is, I know absolutely nothing about economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to actually be a very good thing.
Okay.
And because our group, we're a small group, and there is no single entity in the town of Simsbury that is responsible for economic development. There are a number of different organizations and groups in town that collectively really performs economic development. And we kind of sit in the center and work with all these various groups, either directly or indirectly, to try to bring it all together and to make the whole process around economic development as efficient and effective as we can. So we're not out, drumming the streets for looking for new businesses to come to town. We're not out, meeting with the state legislature or anything like that. We really work collaboratively with the various groups like the Zoning Commission, the Planning Commission, the Main Street Partnership Program that's in town, the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce, the Design Review Board, the other groups, what have you, and try to work with them, as I said, to try to make the whole process work. If there is one person who I think really in town hall who is most responsible for economic development, that would be Mike Glidden, who is a town planner. He gets involved in working very closely with corporate real estate developers in town, with legal teams in town, with Main Street, what have you. So that's kind of an overview of what we've been asked to do by the board. To help facilitate all of that and to facilitate that collaboration, they gave us specific things to work on. Initially, they were things like create a process for that would allow town hall to begin to interact more closely with our local businesses. Go out and interview other towns around us and find out what their business incentive policy is and come back and rework that policy for the town. Work with the Main Street Partnership Organization to redo the marketing brochure for the town and think about how we could take that content across to other organizations. And the fourth initiative was around reviewing past consulting studies and come back with things that or projects that we aren't already in process and help us implement those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of things that we do. And one other example, like just came up this year, a very good example of how we work collaboratively. We work with our business resource librarian, Andrew Sherman, who has a number of facilities at the library that he helps coordinate the use of local businesses coming in and holding meetings or what have you. And he suddenly realized, given the COVID crisis, that, wow, there's a huge demand for this. But the town didn't have a good policy around co-working. And maybe there was an opportunity to work with local businesses and property managers if there was open space, that maybe we could try to encourage them to do more around co-working spaces. So we've teamed up with the Chamber and Main Street, and we're starting to put a program in place to see if we can help facilitate those kinds of things. So that's the kind of work that we do, okay? And so we meet once a month. We sit on other boards, like the Zoning Commission, Planning Commission, and we attend each other's meetings. And so we try to kind of facilitate the whole communication around all of that. Okay, so let me stop. Look, do you have any questions about that whole process, or?
Yeah, I do. I have one question. So in regards to providing input back to Mike Glidden and team, they're the ones that are giving the directives generally about the 4 steps that you guys had taken in 2020 as the main initiatives, with some guidance from your team, or?
No, good question. No, we take direction directly from the Board of Selectmen. So Eric and the team came up with the original 4. We've kind of expanded upon that. They've added to it, and we'll continue to add to it as we go forward. Okay. But we take direction from the Board of Selectmen, directly from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, and then so how are those 4 steps developed, and what was done for background to create those 4 steps as strategy?
So I'm not sure how those, well, Eric can talk more about that, but once we received the direction, then it was up to us to put together, to execute. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we asked for volunteers to have individuals lead each of the team, and then they put together their own work plans and have been executing. So when we meet on a monthly basis, we quickly review those, update those, and it allows everybody to get input into it from the various groups as well. So.
Okay, great.
Eric, you want to answer the other part of the question of how we came up with the original 4? Or?
Well, you're on mute, Eric.
There we go.
Okay.
That came from really a series of brainstorming sessions from the Board of Selectmen when the EDC was first formed back, I want to say in 2017 or 2018. Lori, if it's okay, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and your interest in the EDC.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about your background, and then how that dovetails with your interest in economic development.
Okay, sure. So I can tell you that a spark kind of went off in my mind when I had seen the posting that it was a need for someone who has a marketing background and is also a local business owner, because I find that for myself has been unique in my career. I grew up in Simsbury, Connecticut, and I left Simsbury and lived in Fairfield County for about 16 years. And that is where I spent most of my career. I was in marketing advertising. Now it's been about 20 years. And I've worked with large corporations and CEOs of large corporations. And I've also worked with small not-for-profit boards doing pro bono work. So I've spanned, large corporations, small businesses, not-for-profits, and I've also done a lot of work with religious organizations. And that's been not-for-profit pro bono work, doing capital campaigns and so on and so forth. So I'm very used to working with executive boards. So I find that unique about myself. But how I started was as a project manager at a marketing agency. And I worked my way up through a group account director. And what that ended up meaning was that I had numerous large CPG clients, consumer packaged goods clients. Mostly I worked on the PepsiCo business and the Unilever business. And I also worked with 2 different corporations, Lipton and PepsiCo, on their joint marketing endeavors to create like bottled Starbucks and Frappuccino and things like that. So I really find myself to be a good personality navigator. And I find that fun. When I moved back to Simsbury, we moved back around 2012. I continued my marketing work. I had been at the same agency in Wilton, Connecticut for 16 years. When we moved back to Simsbury to raise our kids here, I decided that I wanted to do marketing consulting work. So I've been doing that all along since 2012. And I have a small little agency called Piece of Brand. And in 2017, for fun and I don't know, not a really midlife crisis, but I thought it would be fun to actually own my own business in town. I think it's great to have been raised in town, have left, and then come back to raise my family, and now am a business owner. I own Hello Lovely. It's on Main Street in Simsbury. And we also have a sister studio in Lakeville, Connecticut. So I'm also starting to get to know the other businesses and how the towns are run in Simsbury and Lakeville. So because those two businesses right now run themselves, mostly, I would say about 90% they run themselves. And my marketing work is consulting work that I can do whenever I want. I thought it would be good to step into the town a little bit more. My family, most of my family are, I would say, public servants. They're police officers or teachers and so on and so forth. And I found this to be an interesting way to kind of give back to the community and get involved.
Okay, thanks so much for that background. I'll ask Jackie to jump in with the next question.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
My question would be, why do you feel you would be a successful member of the EDC?
So being a successful member of the EDC, I had just mentioned, I think I'm a good personality navigator. And the other thing is I'm super resourceful. So when it comes down to working to try and figure out the best, most efficient way to work, I think that I would be your person. I bring a lot of project management experience, as well as a lot of strategic marketing experience. And that mixed together, I think, would be a huge benefit for the team.
Thank you.
Bob?
Lori, could you talk a little bit about the extended family experiences on serving in the town and Simsbury boards?
Okay, let's see, extended family. My father was the chief of police in Simsbury, Connecticut
Oh,
for quite a
okay.
while. I don't know if I'm allowed to be sharing all this stuff. My brother sits on the, I think he's the fire commissioner, sits on the fire commission.
Yep.
Jackie, is that correct?
He's on the fire district board.
Okay, fire district, okay. He's also assistant chief in West Hartford, Connecticut. And I always say my mom was a public servant. She worked at the post office her entire career at the front desk, and knew mostly any of the business owners that were coming into PO boxes and so on and so forth, and worked right across the street from my father for many years. And as a little girl, I spent time in the town hall as well as in the old police station on Station Street.
Lori, when you think about economic development in Simsbury, what's your vision?
For Simsbury, so I think I was lucky to have left Simsbury for a little while and then been able to come back. I spent a lot of time in the Gold Coast of Connecticut, so seeing how Fairfield functions and how Westport functions. I worked in Wilton. There are a lot of takeaways from watching how the town boards function in those towns. I actually lived in Trumbull, so I did not live in those towns, but I lived in Trumbull and I worked for a couple of not-for-profits doing pro bono work in Bridgeport. Those two was Music and Arts Center for Humanity and Hope Line. There were two not-for-profit organizations in Bridgeport. So I really feel like I got to know how those organizations had to work within their town structure and adjustments that might have needed to be made regarding each of the town's rules and regulations and so on and so forth. So I think that is good experience and has really shown me a different way to work potentially, and also some ideas to bring to the table.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So tying into that and your perspective and being in other towns and coming back, what, if anything, do you think you could do or would you suggest differently for economic development in Simsbury now?
I know that Eric, you had mentioned that there had been some, or actually maybe I read this in the 2020 review, that there had been some initiatives taken in the past to take a look at the work that's been done, maybe have some recommendations made on how to move forward. I'd be interested to see those. I think that from what I read, and the activity that I looked through from the agendas and the minutes and so on and so forth, that the guidance for this board potentially could be a little bit more strategic. And to do that, I think it would be interesting to do a deep dive on the best practices that are being done by other economic development commissions in the state of Connecticut. And I can give you an example. So Fairfield County, I think it was around 2017 or 2018, their multiple boards at some of the top towns down that way created the Fairfield County Five. It was an economic development commission that had stakeholders in, must be Fairfield, Norwalk, Greenwich, Stamford, and I don't know what else, to come together to try and pull businesses from New York City to maybe land in that area, and they worked together to accomplish that. I think that there's things that we could take away from some other towns that have been super successful and learn from what they're doing. I think that when you're doing marketing and you're a brand, and Simsbury is a brand in itself, that you almost want to like look at what you want to be when you grow up. And I think there's some really, really, really very good examples out there that we could take a look at.
I love that. In Connecticut, we love to sit within our boundaries and forget what's outside, but there's absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the first step that we always take when we're doing strategic work or marketing work for anything, and you look at Simsbury as a brand, is to do a deep dive on what the reality is and what the competitors are. And not that other towns are competitors, but you can look at them in that way. And we should be seeing what the best practices are out there and taking advantage of that learning. Because really, these boards like to share their information, unless they're like next door neighbors, maybe they wouldn't. But I think you would get a lot of wonderful information from different economic boards across the state.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Lori, any issues about the availability for attending monthly meetings?
No, I am in full control of my own schedule, other than running some kids around sometimes and adjusting meetings. So I'm good.
Good. Because a lot of the times, even though we meet once a month for about an hour and a half, a lot of the work that's done is in between each meeting to make phone calls, do whatever research is required, what have you.
Yeah.
So just, finding time to do all that. So that doesn't sound like it's going to be an issue or concern.
No, would be fine.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
Lori, did you have any questions for us?
I do have a question. In regards to this as a volunteer situation, how would it affect my ability to potentially do our RFPs for other towns that might be looking for marketing work? Would I be signing a non-disclosure, anything that would keep me from doing marketing work with other towns? So for example, if a neighboring town was looking for a director of marketing, would that be an issue if my business put in and responded to an RFP for that?
I mean, no, I can't imagine. I'm looking at Melissa here, but
yeah.
No, the only conflict of interest form that you would need to be concerned with is with the town of Simsbury. I don't think that would have any impact on your work in other towns. In fact, I think your experience is probably a benefit for us. If you were seated on the Economic Development Commission and you were having that experience somewhere else, so I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah. Oh, the other, I should say, just to full disclosure, I forgot. My cousin and very, very, very close friend is the Democratic Registrar at the town hall, Simsbury Town Hall.
oh, nice.
By chance, have you come? Do you know Charmaine CV?
No, I do not know her, and I saw her name all over the agendas and the minutes and so on and so forth, but I have not met her yet.
Okay, because she's also in marketing.
Okay.
Has her own little consulting business in town, and is a member of our board. So I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, and I think that we're going to be able to get back to you in the next 1 to 2 days. So
Sounds good.
So good to meet you.
Lori, thank you very much.
Sure. Have a great day.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have, Melissa, the next person in the waiting room? Before
We do.
let him in, Bob, I thought that your intro was phenomenal, but if you could squish it down a little shorter, just to make sure that he has enough time, that would
Okay.
be awesome. But really, really good background.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
It's really important to me that people know what they're signing up for, because I think
Right.
at least with the initial group of people we brought in, some people were hoping for a different experience.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. In other words, net it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Give me one quick second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good. Connecting to audio.
Good morning, Eric.
He's not
I think
there
his
yet.
audio is still.
Yeah.
Oh, he might be calling in.
Yeah.
That's what I do. If my video drops.
Ah,
Hi,
Oh,
Eric.
is that him? Is that your telephone number in the waiting room? Can
probably
you hear
is.
me? Okay, I'm gonna let him in.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hi, we got you, Eric. Nice to meet you.
Good morning. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Nice to meet all of you as well.
I'm Eric Wellman, first selectman. Jackie Bados is my colleague on the Board of Selectmen, and she's liaison to the Economic Development Commission. Bob Crowther is chair of the EDC,
Morning, Eric.
Morning, Paul.
and Melissa Appleby is our deputy town manager. And appreciate you getting up early
Morning.
with us and
No
getting
problem.
a little bit.
No problem.
What we're going to do is we got some questions that we're asking each applicant, but I was going to ask Bob to jump in as chair and just give you some brief background on what the EDC has been working on, so you have that context.
But Eric, really quickly, do you want to just let him know that this is being
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Eric, this is streaming on YouTube, and
Okay.
it has to be as part of our open meeting rules. So I'm glad that you are dressed appropriately for the occasion.
The rest of us aren't, so.
But I didn't go with
exactly.
pajamas today. Yep, indeed.
Yeah. All right, Bob, take it away.
Okay, Eric. So as Eric said, I'm the commissioner of our economic development team. And as a way of introduction, we take direction from the Board of Selectmen on very specific initiatives, tasks that they asked us to work on, projects that they asked us to work on. And as a result, we're just a small group of people. But by focusing on these tasks, if you will, we begin to work with other groups in town to try to make the economic development process for the community much more efficient, much more effective. So we sit on various boards like the Zoning Commission or Planning Commission. We interact directly with organizations like the Main Street Partnership Program or the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce. We do research. We work on various projects, if you will, in a very collaborative fashion. So all of these various organizations, the group, if you will, all comes together, and that's really what drives economic development here in the town of Simsbury. So we play kind of that role of bringing all the various organizations together to enable the process to be more efficient and effective going forward. We're not out drumming the streets for looking at new companies to come into town or directly interfacing with heads of organizations to look at new projects or what have you. We kind of work behind the scenes to try to make it much more efficient and effective going forward. Okay, so that's basically what this commission does. A good example of that is recently with the COVID crisis, our library resource manager who has space at the library for small businesses to come in and do work found that the demand was exceeding the supply. And so might there be an opportunity to work with local business owners, property managers that have open space to create a co-working environment? And so that's something we're working in collaboration with the Chamber and Main Street Partnership. I'm trying to come up with a policy to make all of that happen. So I use that as one example. So let me stop there. Do you have any questions about our role?
It all makes sense. I've
Okay.
recently been catching up on some of your meetings and presentations, so very, very consistent with what I've seen online.
Great.
Thank you.
So just first question, why don't you just provide a little background about yourself, your experiences, and why you feel you're qualified to be a member of our board?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the opportunity to meet with you and interview for this position. I've got over 20 years experience in the business world and mostly in the corporate world. More about the last 20 years, I'm afraid to say now, in the health insurance industry. Working across multiple roles, I've spent the variety of my career in roles in product development, analytics, and other business operations roles. And what I would say is, one common thread across all of them is the ability to gather insights, do analysis, and think about that and come up with recommendations. Often I'm recommending things to a group of high-level executives, but I would make that akin to the role that you play here for the Board of Selectmen. If I could boil down, the reason why I'm interested to three things, I would say, number one, I've got a passion for this town. I don't know how much of my background you had seen, but I recently came back to Simsbury after a 4-year hiatus in California. Prior to that, I was a 15-year resident. And part of the reason for coming back was this town. We wanted to be back in this community. And I've got an interest in making sure that it's strong and viable in the long term. And particularly concerned with what's happened this year. I know you've all been living that and breathing that, and making sure that our businesses are viable. Number two, as I mentioned, I think I have skills where I can help. I've worked on many initiatives in the corporate world where we've had to do research, analysis, propose solutions, maybe a little bit different context than the type of things you get into, but I would like to think it's pretty translatable. And then third, I would like to keep a portion of my time committed to service in some capacity. Maybe it's just a bug that I started off my career with. Early in my career, I was in the Air Force for several years. I've played roles, even in this community, on boards of trustees with local churches. So I would try to use some of my available time to give back to the community in some way. And when I saw this position pop open, I thought it might be a good fit.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Excellent.
When you look at economic development in the context of Simsbury, what's your vision for the town, or what does economic development to you look like here?
Thanks, Eric. When I think about the opportunity in Simsbury, I grew up in, and I've lived in many communities all over the country by virtue of my experience in the military and corporate America. And I see so many of well, first of all, I think Simsbury is a great place, has a wonderful downtown with a great business community. But I see so much more promise for where it could go if you were to compare that to other communities that I've lived in that have really vibrant downtowns that are very walkable, have a lot of businesses, good parking, all of those different things. And I've seen over the years some changes when I look at Simsbury. For example, I think there are some old problems. I was delighted when I came back here recently to see that there's been some progress made, like the addition of more sidewalks and the focus on bicycle use and making the town more accessible for people who want to use bicycles. But then I also see some challenges that I think have been around for some time, some business areas that don't quite have a clear identity. You'll have some areas where there are a lot of really neat businesses that people want to go to and they want to shop at, and Right next to it, you'll have a empty or almost empty shopping center. I live down the street, very, very close to downtown from a vacant gas station. And so I see a little bit of a mixture there where I think if we could figure out what is working for the businesses that are thriving here and to be able to translate that to some of the areas that are a little bit more problematic, I think I find that very interesting. And then, I'm also attracted, as I mentioned up front, to some of the new challenges, in particular with the global pandemic that we've all been dealing with. I've, seen the particular strain it's put on the business community here. A little shocking coming back into town and driving up and down Main Street and other corridors and seeing some of the vacancies and the challenges that our businesses are having. And I can only imagine what some of our restaurants and businesses are going to have to go through as we get into winter and you can't do as much outdoors. So I'm really interested in helping with that. I think one of the things I've seen the EDC do, which I think is really smart, is to spend a lot of time talking to stakeholders. I noticed you guys have a schedule where you talk to some of the biggest organizations in the town. I think it's very smart to start with, in my business world, it's all about you want to retain the business you have because it's so expensive to bring in new business. I think there's an analogy here. You want good, healthy relationships with the top businesses. You want to know what's on their mind. And I think talking to them, I love doing that kind of stuff, networking, talking with people, hearing about what are their concerns, and then being able to translate that back and, advise folks like you on ideas that we think could offer solutions. So I probably bridged a little bit there into the how, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in the town. I think it's got a really good foundation that we can build on, and interested in working with a lot of these business owners and talking to them about what services and opportunities the town could provide.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
That was great, Eric. So to expand on that a little bit, I liked what you said, and you've seen what we are doing as an EDC. What, if you have any ideas, would you say we could or should do differently maybe?
If I were to break that down into two parts, I would say in terms of the process for what you're doing, I don't know that I have ideas that would drastically improve that, but I think it's important to maintain the commitment to it. I think talking to your stakeholders on a regular basis and having contact with the businesses in town, both at an individual level and some of those organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, I think is really, really important. And I think having people who can commit the time and who have the right skills to hear what their concerns are and to be able to translate that back to the board is super important. So I would double down efforts on that, in particular with the crisis that's going on now, because I think they're just living in a more dynamic environment. I don't know if talking to those businesses once a year is enough in this day and age. So I might even put more energy into the listening tour. When it comes to the actual outcomes of what we would do, I could put forward, some of my ideas, but there's a little bit of danger in me doing that without being fully educated. I do think that there's more as a town that we could be thinking, and I know this spans beyond the EDC, but there's more as a town we could be doing to improve the environment for the business community, when there's things we could do to further enhance walkability, to help kind of rezone and redefine some of the spaces that seem to have lost their identity. When you drive through more like the north end of Main Street, there's a few spots like that, as well as across the border, the broader town. So those are areas where I would have an interest in digging deeper. I don't know if there's a solution that's easy there. I know there's a pretty robust program around incentives and the ability for current business owners to invest in the community and to get incentives for that. I'd love to take a look at that and see if there's, get feedback from the business community and see if that's a tool that if they're really using it or taking advantage of it. So those are the places where my head goes to quickly. And then, I know there's a lot of resources coming to try to help business owners. So another area that I'd have interest in is just making sure, are those messages getting back through to them? Are they understanding the broader governmental services or programs that are available to them from the state, federal, or even local? I'm expecting that a lot of these business owners are so concerned with the day-to-day, they might not even know that there's things that are available to them. So We'd love to take a look at those sorts of things and make sure that there's a really crisp, clear plan for a business owner to say, these are the top 5 things we'd like you to know in terms of what you could do to enhance your business and working with the town government. So those are just a few thoughts of where I'd like to start.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Eric, any concerns about your availability to work with the team? We meet once a month for about an hour and a half, and basically the meeting is just a review and kind of updates from the various groups. Most of the work that we do is done between each of the meetings, either the phone calls or doing research or what have you. Did you have any concerns about being available to participate fully on the team?
I don't know. I know you publish your meeting schedule pretty far in advance, so as long as I can plan around that with my day-to-day work, I can usually be on point to make any scheduled meetings. And certainly part of what I had in mind, I'm getting a little older, and so I've got kids who've moved out of the house now, and so I have a little bit more capacity and ability to give. So certainly took that into consideration in terms of the ability to work in between meetings, which is where I expect a lot of the real work and the conversations are happening. And I would look forward to that for all the reasons that I started with.
Okay, good, very good. Thank you.
Did you have any questions for us?
One question I might have for all of you is that I know that the composition of the EDC is somewhat dictated in I don't know if it's in the bylaws in terms of certain skills and things that you expect to have a representation from the business community. Are there specific aspects that you're looking for in order to fill that last slot? Because I know it requires a certain mix of people with different skills and experience that I could help answer for you.
Sure. When we developed the ordinance that created the EDC, we did create sort of different spots or different skill sets that we were looking for to make sure it was a balanced group. And it provides guideposts, but it's not dictating exactly what we have to do. But I know for this particular spot, we are giving preference to a business owner because that's a particular role that we don't have on the committee right now, a perspective. But I'll share more broadly that through these conversations, it's just an awesome way to get to know people who want to serve our town, and there are so many opportunities to do that. And if EDC isn't the right one, then we'll find something else. And I'm not saying that's specific to you, but I do know that you're not a Main Street business owner, and that's why I'm sharing that.
That's right. Yep. Okay. That's helpful.
Anything you would add or change, Jackie?
What's that?
Anything you would add, Jackie?
No, I would completely agree with that, what you said.
Cool.
Okay.
Anything else for us? Really, really nice to meet you.
All of you as well. No other questions. Like I said, very consistent with everything that I've researched online. And thanks again for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And best of luck with your process and filling the role.
Great. We're gonna know more in the next day or two as far as where we're gonna go. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric.
Very good.
Thank you, Eric.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
So we have 10 minutes, Melissa?
We do, and I just sent Tom a note on the 4th candidate, and he said he did hear back from him and spoke with him this morning, so that person will be joining us.
Okay, so we have 2 more to do?
We do.
Okay. All right. Quick bio break?
Yeah, come back a couple minutes before 9.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, sorry, I can't hear you quite yet. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Everyone's got their work from home backgrounds. I love it. Hi, can you hear us?
Oh,
Yes, I got you back. There we go. Hi,
All
everybody.
right.
Sorry about that.
good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Eric Wellman. I'm Simsbury's first selectman.
Hi, Eric. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Jackie Vados is my colleague on the Board of Selectmen, and she's also liaison to the Economic Development Commission. Bob Crowther is the chair of the EDC, and Melissa Appleby is our deputy town manager.
Nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Leland.
Before we start in on our grilling, no, I promise we won't do that. Two quick housekeeping items. One is I did want to let you know that we are streaming this on YouTube because it is a public meeting and that's how we're doing things these days. So I wanted to let you know that's happening. And I also just wanted to give Bob the floor just to give you a little more context about what the EDC is working on and what it's all about. And then we'll get to know you a little bit better.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tom let me know that this was being filmed, but I appreciate you all letting me know too. It's very helpful.
Each person we're talking to, I'm like, oh, please have a professional background. So good.
Yeah, people tend to like this one. I think it's one of my favorites. When you do Zoom as much as you do these days, you have to keep it, interesting, I think.
Absolutely. All right, Bob, all yours.
Okay. Well, Leland, thanks for joining us this morning. Very quickly, we're a small group in town that even though we're called the Economic Development Commission, we are not responsible for economic development within the town of Simsbury. The town itself has a number of different organizations and groups, such as the Zoning Commission, Planning Commission, our Main Street Partnership Program, Simsbury Chamber of Commerce, and other groups that collectively forms the group that is responsible for economic development. And our role really is to work across these various groups to try to make the whole economic development process as efficient and as effective as we can. So one very good example of how that works is our business librarian, who is responsible for maintaining the business space at the library, came to us and said, given the COVID crisis, there's the demand for his space exceeds the supply, and might there be an opportunity for co-working, within the town? So our team is working with the Chamber and the Main Street to reach out to various owners of property managers in town to see might there be an opportunity to develop a co-working environment within the town of Simsbury. So that's an example of what we do. We take our direction from the Board of Selectmen. They give us various tasks to work on, and we work them across these various organizations. And again, just try to make the process as efficient and as effective as it can be. So I'll stop there. Any questions about our organization and what we do and how we do it?
Not really. I thought that was pretty clear. I also had a chance to read a number of your minutes from many of the previous sessions, so I had a little bit of understanding of what you're working on.
Great.
That's quite interesting. Thank you.
So why don't you start by just talk about you and your background and why you feel you're qualified to serve on our commission.
Sure. Well, I was just interested to hear that this was something in town in Simsbury here. I began my career working in economic development. So I worked for Sonoma County's Economic Development Board. And even prior to that, I actually began in more of the political side, working in the House of Congress, House of Representatives in Congress there, and then moving to the state level in California, where actually I was born. I'm from Connecticut, though. My family has been in Simsbury for quite some time, going back for generations. So we've had a pretty good connection to Simsbury. I then moved into venture capital because I had been part of a small business launch in California that ended up being successfully funded. We then moved it. It actually didn't actually launch in the US. It actually ended up launching in China. It's still actually active in China, the company that we began. But on the back of that, I was able to sort of continue down that lens and ended up working actually in India for an impact investment venture capital fund because I sort of believe in working with business and investing in business and how much that can actually help at a societal level as well and solving some of these social problems. I think a lot of benefit can be had from making proper investments in entrepreneurs and helping grow entrepreneurship. So from there, I actually ended up trying to come back to Connecticut. And luckily I joined Startup Bootcamp a few years back, if any of you have heard of them. I then spent 3 years traveling the world, trying to convince companies, early stage tech companies, to come to Hartford. We brought 30 tech companies to Connecticut as a result of that. And then I ended up joining one of them as we did a 3-year program that came to a close. I joined one of our success stories that's now based out of Hartford, Connecticut, Aureus Analytics. But I myself live here in Simsbury. And so, yeah, I think maybe I can bring a different perspective to this group, having sort of, worked on the global stage. I think I can combine economic development experience with venture capital experience with entrepreneurship experience. And I just think this stuff is really fun. And I really think that what you're doing is really, really important. And I think it's great that it's something that's being prioritized in a place like Simsbury. And so I thought maybe I could, I'm willing to lend my support any way that you all might need.
Thank you for the background. It's fascinating. When you look at a community like Simsbury, what's your vision of economic development here? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it is a very difficult question, but I really think that in general, we need to really just support smaller stage entrepreneurship. I think particularly at this time, what we need to do is help people in really any small community, but I think Simsbury has a lot of this too, especially given the great education system here, the pretty strong sense of community, and a lot of existing entrepreneurship and roots of entrepreneurship going back generations. I really think that it's a place that you need to really prioritize in helping people launch businesses easily and rapidly. Because I think one of the new battles and the new frontiers now, especially in this Zoom time, is really helping people launch businesses easily and making it impactful for people to work from anywhere. Because I really think that smaller towns like Simsbury, or even second tier cities like Hartford, really have a chance now to really make a big push on a much larger level, because you have a place that people want to be at, that's beautiful, but also has a very vibrant community and very intelligent people. We obviously have great universities close by. And so I really think that it's about amalgamating talent and then helping people launch their entrepreneurship initiatives to make it a place that people actually want to have businesses in, and many different types of businesses. When I worked in economic development, it was all about, we were really focused on trying to build out a more robust economy for the area I was in. It was mostly a tourist economy at the time. I think that's very important from EDCs as well, is to try to grow out the types of businesses that are in an area. I think Simsbury can benefit from that as well. But I also think given the time period now, it's really about trying to help people launch whatever types of businesses they are, and trying to make sure that we as a town are recruiting these new companies and these new talents, because it's really it's a really good time for places like Simsbury that are this beautiful, this nice, and with this vibrant community, to try to attract and retain a lot of different types of businesses that maybe before wouldn't even consider a place like Simsbury. And so now you have a chance.
Thank you.
So my question for you would be, if anything, what would you do differently than the economic development group is doing right now?
Very good question. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that, because I think that right now it looks as though you guys are focused a lot on the recovery, which I think is a very necessary thing to do at the present time. It's focusing on, we're in one of the hardest periods we've been in a long time. COVID has really hurt a lot of different types of businesses and really changed the way that we do business. I think you guys are very savvy to be focusing on that. I think just what I just mentioned, though, would be probably the extension to that, which is, I think there's also an opportunity to extend out and potentially add to the community as well in new ways that we need, and or continue the support that we have for existing people here in terms of pushing out those resources. I think that one of the big things that we can do at the EDC is continue to better market this existing support services. Because one of the things the other things I notice is that we do have a lot of existing resources. I mean, like Main Street Partnership and other resources. There's a lot of things in Connecticut more broadly that you can access from inside Simsbury, but also, around here that's easily leverageable. I think one of the other things that we can focus on is just communicating those things in better and stronger ways. And I think that's something that it can be done right now. That's pretty impactful. But again, I really think that obviously recovery comes first, and helping businesses deal with this current COVID situation should be first and foremost. But those are just other things that I think rightfully can and should be on the agenda moving forward.
I agree.
So Leland, a real quick question. So Holcomb, are you related to the Holcomb family that settled here in Simsbury?
I am actually, yeah. I don't know. Many of you might have heard of. I actually carry the same name. So in our family, Leland is the name of the first in every generation.
Okay.
I happen to have been the first. So some of you might have known my grandfather, who grew up on the hill right here in Simsbury, in the Weetog area, as he always liked to say. And hopefully you don't know my dad, but my dad also grew up in Simsbury, more in Holcomb. And yeah, we've been here for quite some time.
Okay, great. Talk about your work with the startup boot camp at Hartford and the InsurTech Hub, because obviously that's got a lot of press when it came into town. And what I'm curious is to talk about the various groups within Hartford that you had to interface with to make it all a reality.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I joined Startup Bootcamp because I thought it was such an incredible and kind of insane thing to be doing. I really honestly thought that. I mean, I thought it was amazing that we were actually, putting resources together to do this and actually taking the bet on this. Because to me, it represented a real push to try to drive tech talent into a place that had been struggling to attract and retain tech talent in a new and innovative way, which is the reason that I came, to be honest. And I really thought that was very valuable. Essentially what we did, and my role was head of scouting. So I was pretty much focused on two things and one thing mainly, which was going out and finding these companies, because my experience in venture capital made it such that I sort of had a network that I could tap at the global stage, but also had some experience in coming in finding and basically evaluating businesses to bring them in. We worked with a lot of the large insurers, Aetna, Cigna, Travelers, the Hartford, to try to identify what problems that they were having and what might be fillable using technology and particularly external technologies, and then sort of set up a process to go and attract that talent. We worked a lot with Innovate Hartford and those initiatives there. And that really, sorry, I guess someone's at the door. The dog's going crazy. Zoom time, you know how it is. But yeah, so I think the real push there was around, was trying to basically go and attract and find these companies. And so that was what I spent my time doing. And then once they came to Connecticut, it was about tapping them into the existing resources here. So we worked a lot with the venture capital arm of Connecticut, Connecticut Innovations, if you're familiar with them. We worked a lot with the University of Connecticut, University of Hartford, trying to connect students to opportunities with the companies here, which we were able to successfully do, because the goal was twofold. It was one, to try to bring them into Connecticut just to get them to go through this program. And obviously every company had to be here in person. But the idea was also that if you can properly select the companies, you can then properly bring them into and tap them into the existing resources that we have here. And once you do that, they will stay. And my job after I attracted the companies and we made the selections of the companies was to help them raise money and to help them receive investment. And so that's what I focused a lot of my time on with the companies here. And we put them through programming as part of our acceleration program to deliver those resources.
And who'd you have to work through at the state level to make all this happen?
It was really run through Michelle Cody and her division there at the state level. And as part of the Hartford ecosystem development projects that were going on.
Okay.
But that was the main contact out of the state.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. So you're responsible for bringing Wipro into Hartford?
Sorry?
Was it Wipro the big firm that set up for InsurTech?
No. That was not us. We were working
with
a lot of the other earlier stage. We mostly did seed, Series A, pre-seed, seed, Series A level companies, and occasionally a Series B level company that came in. But you can go to HartfordInsurTechHub.com to see our alumni. It was 32, I believe, companies that we brought in.
Very good. Thank you.
So Connecticut, as anyone who reads the newspaper would know, gets a tough rap when it comes to being quote unquote business friendly. I think some of that's deserved, some of it's not, in my opinion. But how is that something that you've spoken to the companies that you've recruited about and addressed, and really asking out of genuine curiosity?
Well, I think that you're exactly right, but I think that cost is always contextualized in terms of return on investment. So it's always like talking about what the investment is, right? you'd be willing to spend $100 if you think you'll make two, right?
Right.
So it's really about what's the opportunities that you have in place. And I think people were shocked to hear about how strong the existing businesses we have in Connecticut are. And so for me, it was all about contextualizing this within the package, right? You could move somewhere that is cheaper. You could. We can't compete on price at the outset. What you can compete on is what they have access to. And that's what, economies of the future are all about, what you have access to. Because again, that's why Silicon Valley is one of the most expensive places you can work in and move to and do business in. Why do people go? It's because of the community that you're in. So I was always contextualizing it within the existing businesses that are present. And Connecticut has a lot, especially in insurance. As you likely well know yourself, right? We have a lot of resources here at our disposal in insurance, and we have a lot of really talented individuals across the board in insurance. And so it was all about telling these companies, hey, if you're going to be, if you're trying to grow an early stage business and you want to have the US as a market, if it's not your existing market already, or even if it is, you really need to be where the industry is. And that's how you're going to grow. You're going to attract more talent in insurance because maybe you don't know enough about insurance. You're technologists who built some really cool technology. You need more insurance expertise. We've got that. You need existing customers who are in insurance. We've got that. And so that was really what the whole presentation was. And a lot of what I spent my time doing was figuring out how we could find the right companies to really tap into the existing business problems for the insurers here. Because again, I believe that if we're bringing in the right companies, then they're going to have plenty of opportunity too. And so you have to be I think it's not just attracting any company. It's really trying to be, think ahead and actually strategize about what types of companies you can help best, and then prioritizing accordingly too. But yes, that's really how you contextualize the presentation, at least on that front.
Yeah, thanks, Leland. Jackie or Bob, did you have any other questions?
So yeah, I did have one more question. In your resume, you talk about you're willing to donate 1 to 10 hours per week, depending upon need and regularity of the time commitment. But we meet once a month for about an hour and a half, 2 hours max. But most of the time, the actual work, is done between meetings. Any concerns, given how busy you are, that being able to give us the time we need?
No. On that time frame, it should be quite all right.
Okay.
Things are quite busy through this time, but that should be quite all right.
Okay. Great.
Jackie,
Thank you.
did you have another question?
That was it. It was his availability. Yep.
Leland, did you have any other questions for us?
The only question I really had was, what's the process like moving forward? I wasn't really sure. My operating assumption was you're going to be doing these interviews and then make a decision, and then you'll just sort of notify us and move forward. But are there any other further hurdles or anything else?
No other further hurdles. So unlike most things in government, we're going to move pretty quickly.
That's why I was shocked to hear that, Eric. That's what.
Next day or two, we'll be able to get back to folks. And what I've been sharing with everyone is that we are giving preference to this slot to a local business owner, because that's a perspective in particular that we're looking for. It is always phenomenal when we do these conversations, because we meet amazing people such as yourself. So no matter what, there are so many opportunities to serve our town. And if this isn't right, then we'll certainly find something else, assuming you're interested in that. And I'm not saying one way or the other, but I just wanted to share that there are so many volunteer opportunities, and it's just really nice to learn about you.
Sure. Well, yeah, I'm here for you all if you all are interested. But thank you very much for your time too. Appreciate it.
Thank
Leland.
you.
You as well. All right.
Leland, thank you very much. It's very informative.
Yeah. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Melissa, do we have any information on the other candidate?
I think he's at the bottom of the packet.
Yeah, Tom did include it, just in case, so it is
okay.
in there. Yeah.
So keep going, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
that last one.
Got it. Thank you.
Is he in the waiting room?
No sign of him yet.
Okay.
And there he is. Okay.
All right. Everyone is so punctual today. Make sure you let his phone in if it's separate.
Morning.
Hi.
Hi, are you talking to me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks for being with us this morning. I'm Eric Wellman, Simsbury's first selectman. Jackie Bados is on the Board of Selectmen, and she's liaison to the Economic Development Commission. Bob Crowther is chair of the EDC, and Melissa Appleby is our deputy town manager. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning.
Glad to do it.
Great.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I think you were given the heads up that this would be streaming live on the internet, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Yes.
Okay, good. Before we jump in, I was gonna just ask Bob to give an overview of what the EDC is working on, just so you have that context when we get into things.
Okay, Eric. John, could you tip your screen just a little bit so we get a full view of the
How's that? Is that better?
No,
the other way, other direction.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, there you go.
How is that? Am I got no? Okay.
I mean, I'm getting used to look at people now that, from the eye level up with the mask stuff.
Right.
So, but it's nice to see the full face. So first of all, thanks for taking the time to meet with us this morning. So I'm the head of the EDC commission in the town of Simsbury. And as I tell people, we are not responsible for economic development within the town of Simsbury. The reality is there are a lot of different groups and organizations that are responsible for economic development in Simsbury. And our role in the EDC really is to work across these various groups and organizations like the Zoning Commission, Planning Commission, Main Street Partnership Program, Simsbury Chamber of Commerce, our business resource manager within the library, if you will, and really work across them to bring them all together collaboratively to ensure that we have an efficient and effective economic development process within the town. Obviously, we work very, very closely with the town manager and director of planning, but that's really our role, is to kind of facilitate economic development within that. So a very good example of how that process works is our business resource manager at the library, who was responsible for the small meeting rooms there, saw that he had a greater amount of need, if you will, than he was able to supply, and said, given the COVID crisis and what is going on, there's a real opportunity in this town for the development of co-working spaces. So we have we got involved working with the Main Street Partnership and the Simsbury Chamber to talk to various property managers in town about available spaces they may have. And we're in the process of trying to help facilitate the development of that whole program. So I think that's a pretty good example of what we do. I'll stop there and see if they have any questions about our role and what we do and how we do it.
No, I think I understand pretty well what you do. I think that your definition right now, or I shouldn't say definition, explanation, is helpful, because I didn't realize quite the thrust. I thought part of the Economic Commission was to come up with ideas and thoughts on development in Simsbury, but it sounds like it's more of a coordination role.
Right. It's not that we don't try to develop ideas, but we take direction from the Board of Selectmen. They tell us what projects to work on or things that they're interested in pursuing. And
Right.
it's up to us to work, develop the plan to actually implement, their suggestions. So,
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
thank you. So with that, why don't you provide a little background of your experiences and, your qualifications, if you will, to serve on our board?
Sure. Well, I go back a long way. I've been in Simsbury, longer than I want to remember now. But background is always been involved in business, but actually in some activities which involve working with towns and states, for that matter, on development, coordination, on new projects, and that sort of thing. I go way back. Stanley Works, back in the 70s. I was actively involved with Stanley on a 5-year major plan on developing, and quite frankly, new plants. And I always hate to say this, unfortunately, moving some of the work out of New Britain to other states and other communities. Got actively involved in looking at new companies, and quite frankly, got involved in setting up these companies. One in North Carolina, one in Tennessee, Texas, and finished one actually in Vermont. And it involved coordination with towns, working with states, as that matter, to develop it. After that, still involved in new development. Actually, at that time, it was Cigna. The pension law just came in. I got brought into Cigna to help set up the new company, the new pension company that would obviously serve across the country. Had a company at one time that I've got involved with IPOs and setting companies up. Had a company in Glastonbury that we wound up selling to EDS a number of years ago, and got involved with that. And then lately, in the last few years, haven't retired. Still have a consulting company, working primarily with companies in Connecticut on development, new development, sales, marketing, those kind of things, and still involved with that. So I guess what I was thinking is, when I saw the economic your commission and looking for someone, I thought, hey, I've had a lot of experience working with a lot of people on development, new programs, bringing in programs, development, that sort of thing. And I said, hey, I wouldn't mind being part of something like that in Simsbury. If it's helpful and I can be help keep Simsbury the way it is, because I've been here a long time and plan to be here for a while longer. I wouldn't mind doing something like that, or being part of something like that. And I'm at a point in my life now where I have extra time on my hands too, so it's easy to work with somebody else or something else, whether it's volunteer or something else. So that's kind of a nutshell of what I've done. And I don't know if you have any questions about any of that would be helped you, or.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. One thing that I'd like to hear your take on is what economic development to you means in Simsbury. What are your thoughts or vision of economic development as it pertains to our town?
Well, I guess my definition would be economic development means setting up a variety or a culture that supports other activities wanting to get into town, or other ventures in town that help in a way. I always hate to say this side of it, lower taxes a little bit, that help bring in the kind of people that are going to not only help the economic development part of it, but support the town in terms of whatever they do, whether it be a store, whether it be a new manufacturing plant or something like that, but something that's helpful, but doesn't also get in the way of or what we might be looking for. In other words, you don't want dirty manufacturing or something like that, but it's certainly something that develops a product or something that maybe is useful to the town, as well as can be sold other places, which does help the tax situation, or the I guess the overall environment.
Thank you. Jackie, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, I just lost my screen.
Oh,
Okay.
weird. We can see you.
Okay, darn. Maybe go on to Bob and I'll pick up the next one.
Sure.
I can see you. I can see you now.
Yeah. Can you talk about some in the volunteer form you filled out? You're involved in various. I take that back. That's the wrong question. So you retired, but you said you have your own consulting firm and consulting business.
Yes.
And, any issues or concerns about the time commitment? It's not a major time commitment. We meet once a month for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But most of the work that we do is really done, between our monthly meetings, and it involves, a few hours a week for phone calls or research or what have you, to get done, and then just preparing for meetings. But any concerns about meeting time commitments?
No. In fact, it's a good time in my life to do something else, because I'm not that busy.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I hate to say it, but in the last year, my consulting business really isn't very busy, because unfortunately, a lot of my clients are laying people off, or one's out of business, and so I'm not that busy anymore.
Okay.
But no, I am prepared to put time in. In fact, quite honestly, I'm looking for things to do.
Okay. Jackie?
So my question would be, do you have any ideas about maybe something we're not currently doing for economic development in town, or something you think we should be doing in town?
That's a good question. I haven't thought that much about it, other than the fact that there are. I like the fact that their thoughts are on there. I mean, things that are helping the town and doing it. For instance, I guess a good example would be what's happened in the skating or in the biking area with the bike path, and the fact that it's promoting, not only is it a good exercise area, but it's promoting other things in town that can be tied into this, bringing people in. It brings people in. I happen to be a very active biker and enjoy it myself, but I also like the fact that I see even restaurants are tied into it a little bit. Or there are other things that can be tied into it that are helpful, and I thought that was a great idea, to be honest with you, and I fully supported that. And anything I can do that helps that a little bit, happy to do it.
That's great. Thank you.
Jack, did you have any questions for us?
No, I think I appreciate the explanation of Bob Crowther about what the commission does and how it really works. Because that was a question of mine, and I thought that was a good explanation. And I think that's the time wise. I think the time fits perfectly to what I'm trying. I'm looking for stuff to do right now.
Yeah.
And that fits well with that. I guess that would be it. And I think I have I remember I did read your explanation of, kind of what you're, I guess, looking for. obviously I am not a small business owner in town. Well, I guess you could say my consulting business is sort of that, but it's not really. And but I think the fact that you're looking for maybe somebody who has been in town, does business in the town, is a business person in the town, does put a little bit of a nice, what I call bent on it a little bit as to what you're really trying to tie into.
John, let me just ask you real quickly, your perception of Simsbury as a town to do business. Do we have a positive reputation? Do we have a less than positive reputation? Any thoughts or ideas on that?
Yeah, I would say, I guess from the business standpoint, I'd say it's not the most, no, I would say the most, if I were looking for a town to go into right now, if from a family standpoint, if I had to move there, I'd say, yeah, it's great. On the other hand, from a pure business standpoint, I would say not really so great.
Okay.
Well, as I mentioned a little earlier, years, geez, about 20 years ago now, I guess, but I was president of a company in Glastonbury, brought in actually to run the darn thing, and looked at moving out of Glastonbury to go somewhere else. And I would have loved to at the time have come to Simsbury, but didn't quite. I hate to say it, but Glastonbury fit a better fit for us at that time. And there are certain very positive things about Simsbury from a business standpoint.
Right.
I mean, it's close to the airport. It's easy to get to. Is it attractive to bring people in? Sort of, but
Is there anything specifically that you would focus on that would make us more attractive?
Probably, I have to really sit back and say, yeah, to think about that. But somehow, if I'd say maybe even if I'm a builder, there are things to think about that would maybe make it a little bit more attractive to a builder. And it's not an inexpensive place to set up a business. And so those kinds of things, I guess.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So we are going to figure out this pretty quickly. And I think we're going to get back to folks in the next day or two. So you can be expecting a phone call from one of us, and just really appreciated your interest in connecting with us today and getting to know you a little bit.
Well, thank you, and thanks for letting me, or thanks for talking to me and bringing me into your process, and I appreciate that. And if there's anything else I can, if you have any questions, please give me a call or let me know. But I appreciate you at least listening to me and asking the questions and giving me a little more insight as to what actually this commission does.
Great. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Are we still streaming, or are we done?
We are streaming. Melissa, I assume we need to stream through the deliberation portion as well?
We do.
Okay. So listen, I wanted to open it up for conversation to get all of your thoughts on what we heard today. I am always struck after doing these interviews by the quality and caliber of people who live in our community and their interest in getting involved, and very genuine in what I told at least a couple of the folks, that even if there isn't a spot for them on the EDC right now, that we have to find a way to get them involved in town if that's something that they're interested in doing, because this is brain power we don't want to leave on the table.
Very good candidates.
Very good candidates. I think as I'm listening to these people, I keep thinking, why am I on this group? Let's bring these people in.
Bob.
Don't be modest.
There's some excellent candidates. Just the diversity of backgrounds too, that, there's some real expertise that I think we could leverage. So,
Yep.
So I'll go first. There were two things that I heard from Lori Wagner that give her my vote. One is that going out of the gate, we are looking for someone who is a small Main Street business owner, and she clearly fits that. She also has, I think, a level of relationships in this community and with the business community that I think, Bob, you would agree is something that's missing on the EDC right now. And maybe you feel differently, but those were two things that stuck out to me from Lori that give her my vote, but very open to the conversation if others feel differently.
To answer your question, I think we are looking for anybody who sits on our team to have existing relationships in town. It's a huge benefit. And so to the extent that businesses, how things get done, and you can leverage that is a huge asset to the team. So something like that would be of real value. I was also very impressed with Leland, and that just his background is just, what he was able to do with that InsurTech hub. I mean, that's no small feat. And working with the state and working with businesses to bring them in. I mean that's just knowing how that whole process works is a huge asset.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the local business owner criteria, but very impressive young man.
I totally agree.
And just to add, also what I took out of Lori's interview was her perspective, having lived in Simsbury, then left, and then that she would look at what other towns are doing. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned strategic things. I think that she's resourceful. And then, like you said, she has a business in town. She has connections in town, and those were things that we were looking for.
Yeah. But all of them were excellent candidates.
Very, very good candidates.
Yeah.
So Jackie, just to put a finer point on it, are you leaning toward Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
She seems to fit most the criteria that we were looking for that we don't have on the board now. Very much, I echo what Bob said about Leland. Again, a very good candidate, but missing that piece of having just the small business in town. Same thing with Eric, and same thing with Jack.
Yeah. Do you? I was just curious. Do you know any of these people? Have a relationship or know people that know any of these candidates?
I personally don't. Jackie?
I went to high school with Lori. I have run into her since she's been back and opened her business. But we're not on friendly every day, but I do know who she is.
Okay. And can speak to, do you have a personal enough relationship that you feel comfortable she'll fit in with the team? And
yes, definitely have comfort there. And I think how I reconnected was when she was starting her business, Hello Lovely, in town. She was working with Sarah at Main Street and Simsbury Main Street, and they were helping her open. They were helping her do her grand opening and advertising, and that's when we reconnected. And then, like she said, I am aware of her brother being on the fire district in town. I don't know him.
But that, just having gone through that experience, she's very familiar with how the process works here in town.
Yes.
And I think that's
very beneficial to us.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Bob, I know that you spoke a little bit about some of the qualities that Leland brought to the table. Fully agree with. Honestly, I wish we had 3 open spots on the EDC right now.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure that you're the one who has to get this work done.
Yeah.
And you know what the gaps are and what the opportunities are on the commission. Are you comfortable with this?
I'm very comfortable with Lori.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I might try to reach out to Leland and have a different conversation with him. I mean, he lived in California. I worked out in California for 5 years, and I'm just curious about his experiences out there. It's just he's a very interesting young man. So
yeah, totally agree. So actually, my next question was going to be who's going to reach out to the folks who we talked to let them know that we went with somebody different. Bob, would you be okay to reach out to Leland?
Sure. I don't know. Melissa, is there a formal process that we have or use, or?
I think the last time, I don't remember who made the calls, but we just had someone that sat on the panel make the call, and nothing too formal.
Okay. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to reach out to Leland.
Okay.
Is there a time frame you want this done by?
Why don't we first make sure that Lori is fully on board?
Okay.
So I can volunteer to give her a call.
That'd be great.
I can do that today.
Okay. So sometime Wednesday or Thursday, I can reach out to Leland?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, just send me a note.
Okay. I'm glad to reach out to the other candidates, but I mean, Jackie, did you want to reach out to one?
No, I'm fine with you reaching out.
Okay.
Thank you. I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Eric, let me ask you this from just a guidance perspective. All 4 of these individuals, as you said, are very good candidates. They would all add tremendous value to the town. Are there other committees that have a need for these kinds of skills? Can we help direct them to other openings that may exist, or just say, keep looking? We thought you're a great candidate. Would love to get you involved in the town somehow, some way. This one didn't work out, but you may want to think about such and such. I mean, is there any guidance there?
There are a number of committees that we don't always sort of outwardly, openly recruit for, but I'm just thinking about like retirement plan subcommittee or something like that, where it's like, it's great to, this person has a really nice financial services background, and then the Board of Selectmen can appoint them. We have a constant open list of positions on the town clerk's website in our, what's it called? The board and commission.
The board and commission, yeah. There's a database of all the boards and commissions, and
okay.
It's reasonably up to date, and we're always looking for thoughtful. I think the number one quality I look for is people who are able to give the time and love the town and are thoughtful about how they approach things.
Yeah.
There are times like with design review board, it's great to have someone with an architectural background, but for many of these committees, we're not actually looking for a specific, hard skill set.
Okay. Okay.
Bob, I had the same question. So during the interviews, I was making notes, and to your point, who could we maybe appoint somewhere else, or who we could suggest for open vacancies? So maybe that's something that we look at.
Yeah. Yeah. I do know when we interviewed previous candidates for EDC, individuals may not have gotten selected the first time around, but as other openings occurred, we immediately reached back out to these people and say, hey, we were impressed enough for the first time that we'd like for you to interview a second time, right? And so we're just—
Yeah, exactly. That happened to Charmaine.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep these people in mind as we go forward.
Good.
Awesome. And Jackie, I know at least 3 of the folks we talked to today are registered Republicans, so I'd share their names with whoever the nominating chair is on the RTC for sure.
I'm on the nominating committee. I'm not the chair. So
There you go.
that's again why I take notes, because there's always a need and we always have places. So thank you. I did not look at that when we were going through the applicants, so I didn't know that.
Yep.
Great.
All right. Well,
So-
thank you all for your time this morning.
So we'll wait to hear back from you then, Eric? Okay, very good.
All right.
And just one quick thing on the agenda, if you could just formally table the minutes. There was minutes from February 5th, 2019, and the minutes are not actually in your packet. So if you could just table that officially, and we'll take it up the next time this group gets together.
Okay, I will move to table those.
Second.
Oh, or Bob, thank you. Awesome. All in favor?
Thanks.
Aye.
Sorry to be so formal. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks
Have a good
for
day,
listening.
everybody.